Everybody, T.C. Bradley, host of God Made Millionaire TV, the hottest show on television, where God-given dreams get activated right before your very eyes. And I'm thrilled that you've come by today to watch our show, and what a show we've got lined up for you today. I'd like to welcome back to the show for a second time on God Made Millionaire TV, Mr. Stan Lewis. Stan is the executive director with the John Maxwell team and a volunteer leader for the Royal Ranger Ministry. He honorably served our country in the United States Navy and has a heart for helping parents walk fearlessly in this world as they raise their children. So, without any further ado, let's crack open that bank vault and let's activate some God-given dreams. Stan Lewis, welcome back to the show.
TC, great to be back here, my brother. Great to be back here.
You know, Stan, you are back for season 2. You were here on season 1, and what a episode you had with us last season. As a matter of fact, I want to roll a little bit of your appearance here from season 1.
I was diagnosed with prostate cancer.
Oh, no.
Being in the Navy and being a law enforcement officer, that didn't prepare me for what was to come with that. And you know, it scared me. It really, really did. But God is a good God, and I'm cancer-free now.
Praise God.
But it left me wondering, TC, you know, what, am I doing enough? I just started asking myself these questions, and in 2019, God laid on my heart Folds of Honor. I contacted Folds of Honor, asked if I could fundraise for them, and they said yes.
You're calling, what God has called you to do is to raise money for these kids that need money to go to school. Would that be right?
Absolutely, TC. And I tell you what, I got more out of that, I think, than what I gave to them.
Stan, you've been busy since season 1. You have authored another book, right?
That is correct. I've authored a book called Fearlessly Parenting, positively influencing your kid and teen to go in the way that they're meant to go.
Right. Now, in this current pandemic, you and I were talking about one of the challenges, I think, that we face is with our kids, especially given the pandemic and the restraints that have been placed on our kids. It's been very damaging for our kids. Would you agree with that?
I'd absolutely agree with that. Kids and teens are with mom and dad. Mom and dad are having to parent through more today than they've ever had before.
Stan, where did this burden for our young people come from that God has gifted you with?
Well, from two sources. One, my father, who I discovered in my late 20s was an absolute genius. You know, when I was coming up, I didn't think my daddy knew anything. And another source that was a mentor for me was my Royal Ranger commander, Marvin Lemke. Between the two of them, I couldn't get away with anything. And it was wonderful having those two mentors because it helped me become the man I am today. But in today's world, things are a little bit different, particularly with kids having to stay at home. The role models they would have interacted with in school, in church, at several different areas, they're not getting to do that because of the pandemic.
Not only that, Stan, but does your program address and help the parents of these children?
Absolutely.
Because I think parents are in uncharted water with their kids, helping their kids navigate through this pandemic. So does your training program address that?
Absolutely. You know, a lot of parents today, they have a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, you know, because we want to be that perfect parent. We want to be like that parent that we see at the PTA. We want to be like that parent that we see at church. What my program does and what my book does is help parents to realize you don't have to be like that PTA member that you see or that church member or mom or dad down the street. Just try to be the best version of yourself every day as a parent and a person. And God will give you everything you need to be the best version of yourself. And I see myself coming alongside of parents and helping guide them toward becoming the best version of themselves.
It's interesting because when were you burdened with this burden for the kids that you have right now?
Well, I was listening to Dr. Deborah Tillman. She's the president of the John Maxwell Family and Parenting Program. And she is such a wonderful Christian woman and has a heart for kids. And listening to her and listening to her vision to go back and take our kids and our families back from the enemy. The pandemic is the pandemic, but Satan's at work here and now. And we just need to fight back. And I just want to give parents some tips, some advice that's going to help them help their kids go to the best level that they can be.
And you know what? As parents, I know it's very frustrating because you want to help, but sometimes you just don't have the right strategy.
Absolutely, because as parents, if I communicate with you, typically I'm going to communicate in the way that I understand. But not everybody's the same, TC. Not every child is the same. So this is another thing that we do, is to come in and teach parents that this child and this child may have totally different behavioral traits. And if you want to connect, not just simply communicate, because a lot of people communicate without connecting, but if you want to connect with that child, you have to speak to him or her in the language that they understand.
Stan, I think that the devastation that our kids have gone through with this pandemic, there's a price that we're going to have to pay as a society unless we take action now to help these kids. And what I mean by that is, growing up, I had so many experiences as playing with my friends and events at school and teachers that shaped me into the man that I am today. And yet our kids have been denied this for this season.
Absolutely
How
correct.
critical is it to get these strategies and to sow into that younger generation, Stan?
Well, you have to realize that this generation, that's our future. So we need to take the time to pour into our child. But some parents okay, well, what do I need to do? Well, Fearlessly Parenting will give you some tips, give you some traits on how to foster servant leadership in your children, to give your children a growth mindset to help them become the best version of themselves. And we also have maintenance tips off in there. And then there's a chapter on troubleshooting. And so that, it deals with communication, lack of forgiveness, and things like that. So there's a lot in there for parents to help their children become self-led.
Well, you've got me intrigued, certainly, about those topics, but the lack of forgiveness, that stood out to me. Talk about that and how that dynamic in that parent son or daughter relationship is.
Well, we carry things, and it's like luggage. We get mad at somebody's hurt us, and if you never deal with it, you carry that around. But here's the thing, TC, the person that you're mad at, the person that you're not forgiving, they're going on with their life. And parents need to understand how to have conversation with their kids to bring these things out, deal with them, and get them set aside, because that just provides the enemy a way into that child's life, and unforgiveness can destroy you.
Right. So talk about this training. You've got a book, and you've got a training program that corresponds with the book. So who is that designed specifically for?
It is designed for moms, dads, guardians, to be able to go through it at their own pace, to learn these tips and different techniques for working with their children. And there's 11 chapters, there's 11 modules, and they could start with the first module, they could jump all the way down to the last module. Anywhere they want to jump in between is a good starting point, and just go through it. But what I would ask all moms and dads to do is, when you finish, set aside 45 minutes to go through a module. And once you're done, there's a workbook where you can write down the answers and thoughts and concerns that you had as you went through the module, and then take the time to reflect on those and pray about those.
Well, I got to tell you, Stan, I have a great respect not only for you, but this work that you're doing to help our young kids.
Absolutely.
I can understand why parents are so frustrated right now because they just don't have the strategy.
No, they don't. And, you know, unless you know what your why is, that's another problem, TC. Parents, they love their kids, they love their spouses, but they don't know what their why is. Part of my training and part of what they'll go through when they go through the course is to develop a why statement. Why is family important to me? And it's called a 7 levels deep exercise. And I walk them through these levels. And by the time you get down to the 7th level, you know what your why is. Once you know what your why is, you will do what is necessary to make sure that your kids are raised up to become the best version of themselves.
Stan, what about grandparents? Is this a training program for grandparents?
This is good for grandparents because you have grandparents out there that are guardians. So this helps them too. Adoptive parents.
Right.
Foster parents. So any mom, dad, guardian, this book is for you to help you and your kids and teenagers become the best version of themselves.
Stan, what I'd like you to do as we close out our segment, I can't believe we're at the end of our segment, but before you go, I want you to speak a word of inspiration, of hope, of encouragement to those parents, those grandparents, those adoptive parents, those guardians. Speak a message of hope and inspiration to them, please.
Parents, God gave you your children, and He wouldn't have given you those children if you didn't have the ability to take care of your children and to raise them up in a godly fashion, specifically in the fashion of Proverbs 22:6. So I want to encourage you parents to go to parentsbefearless.com, parentsbefearless.com, and get the book, get the workbook. There's an audio book also that goes along with it, as well as a master course on parenting that's also in this whole package. So you get all of that in one place, parentsbefearless.com.
Stan Lewis, will you come back and see me?
Oh, absolutely.
Fantastic.
All right, brother.
Thank you.
You're more than welcome.
Back again for season 2, we have one of our nation's heroes, medical doctor, Dr. Clayton Ramsue, with his new best-selling book, In Spite of, Answering the Call to Lead. Dr. Ramsue has served in the United States Navy and the Air Force, and he's waiting for us on set. So, without any further ado, let's crack open the God Made Millionaire Bank Vault, and let's get our show started. Dr. Ramsue, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, sir.
What an honor and a privilege to have you back on our show for the second time.
Yes, sir.
So I'm honored and privileged that you've agreed to come back to our show. What I want to do is, your show that you did with us was so popular. We had such positive feedback. What I want to do for the listening audience at home is I want to play a little bit from your first appearance on our show. Dr. Ramsue, take me into your faith. Tell me the role that your faith has played in your career, in your success.
It's one of my things that's in my leadership philosophy. Had a course where they had to come up with your leadership philosophy, and my faith is the cornerstone of that. And I realized that as I went back over it. Now, there's a couple songs that say, I've been, running with God for a long time, and I'm not tired yet.
Right.
There was a lot of time I was running from God because I didn't realize I was special. I didn't know I was special. I didn't think I was worthy to be special. But once I faced him and understood and talked to him, and he said to me, by yourself, you're not. With me, we can do great things. So join me, and let's see where we can go.
That's powerful, powerful. Dr. Ramsue, you have been busy since you appeared here the last time. I see a #1 best-selling award from Amazon for your book debuting #1 on the bestseller list. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir.
What is the title to your book?
The title of the book is In Spite of Answering the Call to Lead.
In spite of.
In spite of.
Answering the call to lead. Tell me, how did you come up with the title to that book?
Well, you'd be surprised. It was because of you.
Really?
I appeared on your show the first time, and we had a discussion, and you said, I love what we did together. I need a book. And I had been sitting on book titles for probably 10 or 15 years, didn't have the encouragement to go ahead and write one. And you brought that to me. You brought me out of the cave, and we talk about our bringing out of the cave moments. You brought me out of the cave to expose what gifts that I had to share.
So many people have these God-given dreams within them, and they'll die with that God-given dream still in them. And yet, you came out of the cave, and then you wrote the book. Not only did you write it, but now, phenomenal success on the debut of the book.
Yes, yes, it's incredible, and I'm so appreciative. I'm so thankful that I can share this with people. But what I wanted to do more so than anything else was to help people.
Now let's talk about this for a second. You are a medical doctor.
Yes, sir.
You're not a PhD. No. You are an MD. You are a very successful medical doctor. Tell us a little bit about your background.
So my background started when I left. I'm a Philadelphia native. Went in the military.
I will not hold that against you.
Well, it's okay.
I love my Philly people, though.
And I went into the military right out of high school. Went into a program called Boost, as you well know. Didn't do well at that program. I was supposed to be there for a year. I was there for a semester. I was away from home. I was stationed in San Diego, across the country, away from my family, and my first chance to try to be an adult. And it was a massive failure, or that's how I perceived it. If it wasn't for that, I would have never become a hospital corpsman. I would have never thought about medicine, and I wouldn't be sitting here with you today.
What inspired you to get into medicine and become a doctor?
It was the people. While I was in the military, I loved the people and the interaction and to help them. It wasn't necessarily the science, but the fact that we could connect, and you trusted me to help you in your most sensitive and vulnerable times. And that is what I love the most. Right.
Tell us a story about a situation that you went through with the Navy on your pathway to becoming a doctor.
There were several situations, and the one I like to talk about the most is that when I was trying to become a doctor, I was a hospital corpsman. I was stationed at Bethesda Naval Hospital, and there was no one who looked like me that I could come to talk about becoming a doctor. Or the people, the few that I did see, they were not approachable. And I was determined at that particular time, I was going to become that person. I was always going to be the person that you could come to for encouragement. And it was successful. I had one doctor, Dr. David Clark, who said, you can do this. What's the problem? Get through the first 2 years of medical school, and after that, you got it. And that's exactly what happened. I got in contact with him approximately 2 years ago just to thank him for what he did and that encouragement. And I want to be that seed in someone's life.
I want to give you the opportunity to be that Dr. Clark in somebody's life. Right now, we've got young people that are tuning in that maybe they were born on the wrong side of the tracks. Maybe they were discounted and diminished, right? I want you to have an opportunity to speak into their lives right now, a message of hope and encouragement.
Absolutely. What I want you to understand is that in spite of where you were born, or who your parents are, or what school you went to or did not go to, or what people say about you, in spite of that, you are special. You can lead. You can help someone. It's all in the mindset. Do not look at yourself and say negative things. Look at yourself and say, I can, I must, and I will, because I want to help someone else in my position. And I'm here to help you, as TC helped me, to come out of your cave and bless someone. You're special. Remember that. No one can stop you but that person in the mirror. So tell them to get out the way and let you through.
Amen. You know, there's a medical doctor inside of them waiting to come out if somebody would simply believe in them.
Absolutely.
And if they would come out of their cave and activate their dream.
That's right.
Let's circle back to the book. Who should read your book?
I think everyone should read the book. because everyone has some kind of leadership position that they have not taken, whether it's in your family. Sometimes we don't know how to lead our families, or in your community, or in your church, or at your job. We all have had the opportunity to lead, but because of what we say to ourselves, our self-limiting doubts, we haven't taken that step. We don't think we're ready. And I'm here to tell you that you're ready right now. Take that first step. This is for those people that want to take that first step, but just didn't believe in themselves. And I'm here to encourage them. Don't take it to the grave with you. Do not have buried treasure.
Oh, do not have buried treasure. I love that one. I do. Dr. Ramsue, we're coming through a pandemic. We're in the midst of a pandemic. You're a medical doctor.
Yes.
You've seen a shifting in our world, right, through this pandemic. Talk a little bit about the shift in the medical community as it pertains to leadership. What have you seen on your side?
I've seen a lot of hesitation, but I've seen a lot of motivation and people stepping up to lead.
Heroes.
Actually, every day. And that's the thing, that's another good thing about the book. It's for those people who may have been reluctant, who don't think they're heroes. It doesn't have to be that you're the president of the corporation, or the president or the CEO of the hospital. What you do to help that one person every day makes you a hero. And that's your answering the call to lead and to be recognized for that. And I definitely want to recognize all the first responders and frontline workers and doctors, because it's been hard. You haven't been able to see your families sometimes, go home for days and weeks at a time. But what happened? We believed in each other, we believed in the people, and we stepped up.
Dr. Ramsue, I'm going to continue on this pathway with you, talking a little bit about leadership. What do you think is the number one mistake that leaders make in leadership today?
One thing is not recognizing your talent, not only your personal talent, but you're only as strong a leader as the people that you lead. Believe in them. Find out what they're like. Find out what their strengths are. And also understand that leadership is not about you. You didn't have this show because of you. You had the show to help people. So I think if leaders take on that servant leadership, as we've all seen, then I think they will be more successful.
Wow. Dr. Ramsue, take us into a moment in your life, because I believe a life is composed of defining moments in a person's life. Take us into a moment in your life where everything changed.
Well, one of my defining moments was when someone actually said, "You could do this." Someone told me, "Why can't you be a doctor?" It changed my paradigm. It changed my mindset, because I didn't believe until then. I didn't know anybody in my family that was a doctor. I didn't know anybody in my family who had finished college at that particular time. My parents always believed in me, but I thought that's what they were supposed to do. And I thank my parents to this day for them keeping on encouraging me. But I had to start to believe in myself. That's what made the difference.
Give a shout out to Morehouse.
I want to say hello to everyone at Morehouse School of Medicine. I love you. Thank you. And I'll be back.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You know, Dr. Ramsue, we're almost out of time on this segment. I loved having you here, but I do want to give you an opportunity. I gave you an opportunity to speak to the young people, but now I want to give you an opportunity to speak to the nations one more time, a message of hope and inspiration that they're looking to activate their God-given dreams, but no one believes in them. No one, and they don't believe perhaps in themselves, but I want to give you your time, sir, to speak into that camera and to speak to the nations at this season that we're in, a message of hope and inspiration.
I want to give you a message that says you are enough right now. A lot of times we don't understand that what we have, the gifts that we've already been given, the gifts that we have now, are what the nations need. You are what the nations need. I need you to step forward and believe in yourself, and sometimes it's just not the vision that you have for yourself or what people have said about you. What people have said about you is not your reality. What you believe is your reality. What and how God sees you is your reality. Look at his view for a second. He doesn't make mistakes. He doesn't make mess. He doesn't make junk. He made you unique for a purpose. Your only chance now is to live that purpose. You've seen the pandemic. You've seen what we've gone through, but guess what? We made it through. We made it through not for ourselves, but we made it through so we can help someone else. So help someone. Believe in yourself. Encourage somebody else, even if you don't believe it at that particular time in yourself. Encouraging someone else encourages you. It strengthens you.
Dr. Ramsue, you are what the nations need. You and your leadership. Thank you so much, sir, for coming.
Thank you.
Will you come back and see me again?
Absolutely.
All right. Everybody, can you believe we are at the end of another show? And what a show we had lined up for you today. You know, one of the biggest challenges that a faith-based entrepreneur faces in this marketplace today is focus. I believe that God calls you to do one thing, and one thing very well. God doesn't call you to do 5 or 7 things. An example would be in real estate investing. You know, in real estate investing, maybe you're called to be a wholesaler. And then one week you're going to be a wholesaler and make millions of dollars wholesaling properties. The next week you watch a TV show and you go, hey, I'm going to be a rehabber this week. Listen, ladies and gentlemen, God calls you to do one thing. He didn't call you to do a bunch of things. He's called you to do one thing. I want you to focus on that God-given dream that He's placed inside of you. I want you to focus on that gifting that He's given you. He's given you one thing to focus on. Don't get distracted by the internet, by social media. Focus in on your God-given assignment and activate your God-given dream. I'm looking over at the corner. Big Mike is ready to strike up the music, but you know how we do it here on God Made Millionaire TV. At home, throw your shades on with some attitude, and I want you to do your prosperity dance with me. Big Mike, hit my music. Hey everybody, TC Bradley, host of God Made Millionaire TV, and I was thinking the other day of how my life was profoundly impacted and changed for the better when I published my first book, Supernatural Success. If you're watching this video, listen, you've been given a God-given dream to publish a book. He's given you an assignment to do. Well, we have a publishing company designed specifically from A to Z to handle all of those details for you. Set an appointment up with our publishing company so that we can talk to you about bringing your book to the marketplace and your voice to the nations on our show, God Made Millionaire TV, as a published author.